As is always true in filmmaking, sound and lighting quality are both critical to the perception of the final product. Unfortunately, with smartphone cinematography, you're almost certainly not using a 20-piece lighting kit, and the microphone on your phone is not going to cut it. So let's take a look at your best bets, starting with sound. Now, while the mic on your phone won't be up to the job, the analog to digital converters in its hardware will almost certainly be sufficient for standard dialogue. You can purchase inexpensive lavalier mics like this Rode one that plug right into the headphone jack of a phone to produce good quality audio. Don't try to make a single phone capture the audio and the video. Instead, you can have an on-screen talent hide the audio capture phone in their back pocket. Again, just be sure to have a reliable method for syncing the audio and the video in post. Other options include dedicated audio recorders like this Zoom unit. Carrying a bulky lighting rig everywhere you go kind of defeats the purpose of filming with a highly portable smartphone. Nonetheless, bad lighting will ruin even the most carefully composed shot. What's the solution? Well, let's start with the settings on your phone. First, we need to adjust ISO. What's ISO? It's the value that sets the sensitivity of your phone's camera to light. The effect of raising the ISO is to make the image brighter. But if the picture is too dark to begin with, you'll end up with an extremely noisy image, probably unusable in a final piece. Given that phone cameras typically have a limited dynamic range, there's probably a single setting that offers good lighting response without noticeable noise artifacts. Be sure to preview test footage on a large screen to evaluate the noise rather than relying on your phone's tiny screen, which will be extremely forgiving of noise artifacts. Now, on an SLR camera, you would make adjustments to the lens aperture to control light intensity. Camera phones typically have a fixed aperture, so that option isn't available. What you can do, however, is to add neutral density or ND filters over the camera lens. This reduces the brightness in daylight to a usable range without having to lower the ISO of the camera. There's one other way to adjust the intensity of light, and that's to change the shutter time. The longer a shutter is open at each frame, the more light that reaches the sensor. However, for traditional film rate playback of 24 frames per second, you'll need to set your shutter speed to as close to 1/48th of a second as possible. Setting it longer than this will increase light intensity at the expense of unnatural and distracting motion blur. Once you've got your camera settings dialed in, it's time to turn your attention to lighting your scene. If you're outdoors, the best option is daylight. Use a diffuse reflector as a secondary light source, and then position your subject so that between the direct sunlight and your bounce lighting, you have a good, even coverage. You can also take advantage of magic hour, that time just after the sun sets or just before sunrise, when the light is nicely diffuse. For indoor or evening shoots, you can use a portable battery-operated LED light like this one. Positioned just out of frame, even discrete units can provide a good amount of diffuse light. You can also use practical lighting as an additional secondary source. Be careful though, there's a good chance your portable light color temperature will be different to the practical lighting color, which means you'll either have to gel your portable light or the practical ones to balance the color. Be sure to watch our series on lighting control for more information. Now in all of this, make sure your camera's white balance is set to match the primary light source of the scene, be it sunlight, overcast lighting, incandescent lighting, or professional tungsten lighting. Again, a third-party camera app may provide the ability to manually set the white balance using a diffuse white card or a sheet of paper. And that's a wrap. Now, in addition to what we've covered, all the other rules of cinematography apply. So, now that we've set your smartphone pointing in the right direction, watch the rest of our Coffee Break Film School videos to take your skills to the next level.